One of the things I want is for folks in Bloomington to be as proud of this as we are, because we're really, we're telling the story of Bloomington and Brown County and the whole, South Central Indiana.
Burgers, tacos, pizza. Oh my! Season 7 of the No Dishes podcast is here. Once again, brought to you by Visit Bloomington. Check them out at visitbloomington.com. Especially if you live in Bloomington, you'll find out about all this cool stuff going on around town that you had no idea about. Also, please support our other advertisers on this episode. The best way to show us some love is to show them some love. You already know what I'm going to say. Play that theme song.
Hey, say, honey, let's go out to eat. Relieve our culinary duties. With all these restaurants to sweep us off our feet, they're bound to turn us into foodies. No dishes, no dishes, no dishes. We'll have a bottle of wine for lights and have a good time. No dishes. No dishes.
All right, we're back with another episode of the No Dishes podcast. Really excited today. We have Hard Truth Distilling and Big Woods. We've got the GM of Big Woods Bloomington, Dustin Sanders, and the Master Distiller and partner of Hard Truth, Bryan Smith. Fellas, first time meeting you. Thanks so much for being here.
Hey, thanks, Jordan.
This is awesome. So we've got some Bloomington connection, but we're also kind of Brown County is where you guys are based out of. But we were talking about before we even recording. It's we work off each other so much between Brown County, Monroe County. Oh, yeah. Just doing cool shit is how I like to think about it. Bryan, can you tell me a little bit about the history of Hard Truth? Because you guys have grown like crazy in just a short amount of time.
Yeah. So for people that might be familiar with like Quaff On Brewing Company and then Big Woods Restaurant Group. So started with a couple partners, really aggressive entrepreneuristic businessmen. So Jeff and Jim and Ed. And then Tim was the son-in-law of Jeff. So he was a home brewer, and they were buying, some little small properties around 2008 in Brown County. And they had this little fudge shop that they were trying to figure out what they were going to do with it. They bought it. Tim was like, what about a homebrew shop? And so really the whole enterprise started out of that.
Wow, I had no idea. Why didn't they just keep selling fudge?
I think maybe the fudge business was down with the housing. Went down with the housing prices.
As a kid, we went down to Nashville, and all I remembered was getting like fudge and beef jerky.
Oh,
you know what I mean? Like I didn't have any desire for leather goods or old timey photos.
Right.
But fudge, I'm just a fat kid, so that's what I remember. Okay, so get out of the fudge, move to a home brewing shop.
Yeah, and to your point about Brown County at the time, I think it was maybe a little bit tired as far as like, you would go there with your grandma to buy trinkets or whatnots.
Right.
And so those guys really like craft beer. And so they really were wanting, have some place to go have a good beer. So that's kind of where the business part of it started out there. Like the homebrew shop went well. Then they started having a homebrew club once a week. And then they just built it from there. So Quaff On Brewing Company was built from that. And then the brew pub started doing well. They expanded on that business. And then in 2015, the laws changed to allow a co-location of a artisan distillery if you were a brewery or a winery in good standing. So they jumped through the hoops, got the permits. We were like 6th or 7th, I think, in the state.
Cool.
And so that's where Hard Truth started. So at the top, above the pizza restaurant that's now in Nashville, which you said that you were there.
Yeah. And I wish I could remember. It was an old Upland group or old Yogis. We went over there, did the whole tour. And so we realized we have met before, but a long time ago. And
many moons ago.
Yeah. And I was part of a whole group. So you want to be like, oh, yeah, I remember you out of that group of 30.
Right.
But you guys were doing like French toast bourbon and like really cool stuff up there tucked away above the pizzeria.
Yeah, so the fun origin story about Hard Truth is, a lot of distilleries that have gotten to the position to where we are now and to where we're going started with, some sort of executive or member of one of the big whiskey, brands.
Yeah.
Heaven Hill, Jim Beam, and they kind of sprout off from there and have this fully formed idea and get investors and build something like an Angel's Envy, for example. But we really were just doing it, basically building organically, growing as we saw fit, and it's been awesome, really, really fun ascension. And now we're in 25 states. It just opened up our 25th state last week. I was in New Jersey all week, and we've got distribution, throughout half the United States. So it's been a fun ride.
Yeah, congrats, man.
Thank
so
you.
it used to be, correct me if I'm wrong, but the Big Woods used to be called Quaff On, correct? Like so
In Bloomington, yes.
Oh, okay. It was just here.
Here. So we confused everybody. So
that was the goal.
People still refuse to call it. I'm sure you get it.
Oh,
Dustin.
yeah.
People still refuse to call it Big Woods Bloomington.
Yeah,
it's still Quaff On. It's
Yeah,
Quaff On.
absolutely.
Yeah. So but they trifurcated the businesses to, try to avoid brand confusion. So Big Woods is the restaurant group, which now there are 9 locations. And then Quaff On is the craft beer, third highest volume craft beer in the state of Indiana.
Wow. Okay. So where all does like Upland, Sun King, Three Floyds? Do you kind of know how that?
I believe. See now, my info might be dated.
Well, and you're on the
Sun
distillery
King,
side,
correct?
more.
Yeah, I think Sun King's number 1, and then usually down below there is Upland and Quaff On and Three Floyds. Kind of
those
go into
4
that.
are usually kind of okay. That makes sense.
Yeah.
I can't really think of anyone else that would be breaking into that top 4.
Right.
I mean, I'm a little out of the game. 2 years not boozing, but I still kind of know what's going on. I see what my friends are bringing over.
Oh yeah,
what they're drinking on.
So Quaff On's still going strong. I mean, beer's been kind of having a hard time. Craft beer's having a hard time with it. But Quaff On's been real strong. So really, the big change for us was in 2016. The partners found that piece of property. It was known as Firecracker Hill in Brown County, 325 acres. Purchased it, and we built this big, beautiful, state-of-the-art distillery. And then we started making rye and bourbon whiskey. And we first commissioned the new still, October of 2018. So our oldest bourbon is getting ready to be 6 years old here in about a week. Happy birthday to our bourbon.
Yeah, there you go.
And so ever since then, rocking and rolling, man, growing, the property's fun. The experience part, I have nothing to do with. Thank God, because I can't do the chaos.
Yeah, but you make or head up what they're enjoying during that experience.
This is true. This is true.
So you've got your hand in it.
Oh yeah,
just not directly.
Right.
Yeah, you don't have to deal with anyone being drunk, so that's nice.
Right. that experience part of it is all my partners. They've got this big vision of what the customer experience would be like. So for folks who've maybe been down to the Bourbon Trail, a lot of those tours are kind of the same thing over and over again.
Yeah.
Right. So we decided that we were going to really break that mold. So, I mean, we do distillery tours, side-by-side ATV tours. We drive, you drink.
I love that.
Tiki
That's so
boat
cool.
tours now. There's a 300-seat restaurant, 1,000-person outdoor music venue.
Wow.
And then obviously the synergy with our Big Woods restaurants, like our Big Woods Bloomington, is anything that we're doing liquid wise on the property gets translated over to the Bloomington restaurant, and people can find it there and enjoy it. And then also other bars and restaurants.
That's great. I mean, it's such a beautiful property. I knew about the restaurant, knew about the venue, but I didn't know about tiki boats and
crazy.
Side by side. That's insane.
It's insane.
Well, you mentioned Nashville. Yeah, it used to be kind of a sleepy town, and you'd go for some arts and crafts and some fudge and beef jerky. But now it's a little more lively. You've got some tap houses, your property, just the Big Woods. Cooper's Alley has been doing great over there.
Yeah.
It's just the fact that you guys found 325 acres, all contiguous together, that close to downtown Nashville.
Yeah.
I mean, that's nuts. I didn't know that you could find that, know.
I don't know a lot about, I know enough about it to kind of sound dumb, but from what I understand, that property has been for sale for a long time and was almost a lot of different things, like housing developments and different things. So really having the vision and the guts to take it on and really make something. And really our goal is to preserve, almost all the property is just exactly as it was.
Yeah.
Which is woods. I mean, we wanted to maintain the character of like Brown County State Park, where, you're enjoying the parts of it where we have the experiences, but the rest of it's just.
Yeah, you're not destroying the nature, which is why a lot of people come to Brown County. Is for the nature of it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Well, and I mean, a lot of people, maybe naysayers will be like, oh yeah, if you got a ton of money, you can be successful. It's like, well, you really got to put your neck out to put the investment of buying that much land, to build that much stuff, and then hope that, people will come and spend money, and that it's a sustainable business. So I don't think it's as easy as just throw money at stuff. You'll be successful.
No,
you've got to do something right, and you have to do it consistent.
Correct.
Consistently well,
and adjust. And that's where I think one of our advantages as a brand has been is that we're privately held. We don't have any any people that we owe answers to. So we've been able to kind of plant and pivot when we've needed to, and change directions and stay nimble, which has helped with the business side of things. Yeah,
that's huge. Dustin, we haven't forgotten about you. I promise. Yeah. I want to hear a little bit about how you came on board and then worked your way into the role of GM of Big Woods Bloomington.
Yeah, so I actually started with Hard Truth. It would have been August of 22. Started there kind of right before the distillery started, 24 hours a day, 6 days a week. Started making bourbon like crazy. Was there until April of last year.
Okay.
Or April of this year, sorry. And then I transitioned into the restaurant side of it, came on at Big Woods Bloomington, and just kind of went up from there. So, yeah.
Did you come in as a GM or other management?
Yep.
What was that transition like? Because as a restaurant guy, I've never distilled, but I can imagine my good buddy Justin Huey's the head distiller at Cardinal. Oh, yeah. So I've got a little bit of insight into that world because he's been there since the beginning. But I can't they're just so different in the skill sets.
Oh yeah.
What was that transition like?
The mindset was a big transition, but I would been a GM at a barbecue restaurant in Martinsville for a couple of years before that. So getting back into the restaurant side of things was just a lot of kind of hating myself, but getting in it again.
Well, that makes a lot more sense than you had prior GM experience.
Oh, yeah.
What was the barbecue shop in Martinsville?
It was Gather Around Barbecue.
Okay, that's why I couldn't remember the name. Yep. I've had them. It was at a CPA in Martinsville, did this customer appreciation day. We came out and did ice cream, and they had their food truck there, and it was so good.
Yeah.
That Gather Around Barbecue was money, and so I'm so glad that's the one I was thinking of.
Yeah.
I just couldn't remember the name.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so you did that, go over to distilling. What was that like for both of you, I guess? Bourbon, it takes time. You can't just be like, hey, we're going to start selling bourbon. You have no product for at least 2 years?
We've waited till 4 to release our bourbon. So yeah, minimum of 4 years. So it's an interesting dance with cash flow.
Yeah,
because it only takes a lot of money to make whiskey, and right now we've got about 12,000 barrels resting in our rick houses. So that's not nothing.
That's a substantial amount, I would say. Are the rick houses all in Brown County, or are they kind of spread out?
No, they're all on the property. So,
wow, okay.
So we just built number 3, and we're loading barrels into it as of last week.
I love that, as big as you guys are, that you have one property that's just so sick that you could just say the property, and you know where we're talking. Yes. You're like, I know exactly what you're talking about. The property. It's like, the 300 acres in the middle.
On the restaurant side, they call it the Hill.
The Hill.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Everybody just knows it, the Hill. Yeah.
And I think that's another differentiator for Hard Truth as well, as for all your watchers who are maybe in the bourbon world. I mean, since COVID, especially, this bourbon collecting and new brands and all this stuff, it's been kind of like what happened with craft beer 15 years ago, right? There were 8 beers, and then all of a sudden there were 800 beers, and you're like, oh my God, what's happening here? So a very similar thing happened in the world of bourbon. But the difference is a lot of those new brands they call them NDPs, or non-distillery producing brands. So essentially, if you wanted to start your own bourbon brand, you can either contract me to make you whiskey, or you can go and buy barrels of whiskey that are still in the barrel, and then come up with your own marketing, your own story, your own brand, buy my whiskey, put it in the bottle, and put it on the shelf.
Yeah.
Most of the stuff that's new brands that have hit the shelves in the last 10 years are that, which is fine. I mean, it's great. There's actually some really great whiskey. But for us to actually have a home place of where we make the whiskey, you can come visit, you can come experience, is really a big differentiator for us. Yeah, you just took the words right out of my mouth. I was going to say, what a differentiating factor, because I know what's it called? Like when they buy juice, it's an acronym. It's 3 letters where they're like, oh, they just got MGP. Thank you, MGP. I could not remember it. I was like, yeah, MGP. Is that out of Lawrenceville? Is that Lawrenceburg, Indiana? Lawrenceburg, yes. Midwest grain products. So it was kind of a little dirty secret for a long time, then all of a sudden, everybody cracked it open, and then because they really make pretty damn good whiskey. People started proudly saying, this is a 6-year MGP 95.5 rye. And to people who collect or know about it, they kind of know, oh, I like that whiskey.
Right. Yes. So it does work to their advantage some.
Yep.
And I think some people too, they're like, hey, I want to make this whiskey. I want it this brand.
Yeah.
Can't they take different styles from MGP and then like blend them a certain way to get maybe the flavor profile they're looking for?
Depending on what barrels are available. So
Okay.
that's the funny thing about just like any kind of supply and demand, industry, there are times when there are a bunch of barrels available and they're pretty affordable and you could make your own brand. Then there's times when everybody's bought them all up or people are holding them back and it creates a constriction. It's a really interesting how that ebbs and flows. I've seen like probably 3 cycles since we started in 2015 happen in the industry.
Yeah. Now, how many other people would you say, I mean, I guess in Indiana are really just doing their stuff from the start to finish like you guys are?
There's a lot. I mean, really, Indiana, keep your eyes out because I know that there are a few big writers in the whiskey world who have been circling around the Indiana story for a long time because they all know MGP. And, Starlight down in Southern Indiana, Cardinal Spirits here in Bloomington, Hard Truth, West Fork Whiskey, Spirits of French Lick, Dusty Barn, Journeyman just is building out in Valpo. I'm sure I've left out some great friends that I wish I hadn't, but there's a really robust scene in Indiana. People making some great whiskey. And so all the awards that we're winning and all these things, double blind, like legit awards, the whiskey world is starting to say, wait a minute, what's going on in Indiana? So it's pretty cool.
That's awesome. Well, and I know you just mentioned your role, you mentioned before we started recording, your role's changed a little bit from being Master Distiller to also like, hey, I'm going out there to these other states. You said you've just expanded into 25, and you're selling them not only on Hard Truth, but on Indiana whiskey.
This is true. Yeah. And really, not only do we have the place, but we're grain to glass. So whereas these other brands that maybe people are really into, they can tell the story of like, well, the label says, we're telling the story about whatever, John Henry, but the whiskey comes from MGP.
Yeah.
And in Indiana, right? We're telling the story about the flavors of Brown County and, the hardworking Hoosiers and, a lot of our employees are from Bloomington. And so we get to tell the story of like, we're real people in a real place making actual whiskey.
Yeah, no, it's authentic.
Yes.
It's not. There's nothing that's like we're trying to make something there that's not.
Right. Correct. Yeah.
How much are you paying for your restaurant's business insurance? What's affordable for your needs? What does your agent do for you that isn't just policy writing? Tony Brown with First Insurance Group has a keen eye for the policies all restaurant owners and operators would love to have. Tony provides risk management and other HR resources free of charge as your agent. Tony has no waiting period for loss of business coverage starting from day 1, minute 1, unlike other carriers' 72-hour waiting period. Tony has no audit for liquor liability and general liability, saving you time so you can focus on running your restaurant. And Tony's insurance carrier is the preferred vendor of choice for the Indiana Restaurant and Lodging Association. Call or text Tony Brown with First Insurance Group today, 812-327-2321. Set up a free review of your current policy and see how Tony can help you protect your largest investment, your business. 812-327-2321. So Quaff On, now Big Woods Bloomington, used to not have a 3-way, but has now had a 3-way for a while. What's that been? Maybe I don't know if you guys know, but I feel like it's been maybe been 4 or 5 years now.
It's been a minute because I know that I think it was very closely after we went into distribution. So maybe 2016.
Okay. Yeah. Been a while. Yeah. That shows how dated I am. Where I'm like, I remember it was just beer and wine only.
Yeah. That's true. That's true.
Yeah. So do you guys have an extensive cocktail list? I'm assuming using Hard Truth at Big Woods Bloomington.
Oh yeah. 100%. We actually just revamped both our menus, food and drink. Drink menus have been curated by our staff for our restaurant with our brands in mind, and they are really good.
All right.
Yeah, we brought Bryan's whiskey into it, and we make some really good old fashions and
There you go.
Manhattans.
Ooh.
I think some of the better ones that I've had.
That was when I was real big into craft beer when I turned 21. The old yogis did like the Century Club, and first beer I ever ordered at a bar was a Hop Slam, and that was always my favorite. 10% ABV, but it was a double IPA, but it wasn't bitter because it was brewed with the honey. So you could just slam those and get yourself in trouble pretty quick.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But I quickly, because I also started bartending as soon as I turned 21 and fell in love with Manhattans. And I was the douchebag that even went to Kilroy's. Like, can I get a Manhattan? They're like, what?
Yeah.
Like, no, we don't have bitters here. We don't have, Well, even then I bartended at Charlie's. We didn't even have bitters there back in the day.
Right.
But now, they've got craft beer options, local, they've changed with the times like any chain should.
Sure.
They see what the trends are. Like, people actually want more craft cocktails. I'm trying to think. You mentioned the new food menu, and I was like, nothing gets me more distracted than you'd be like, new food menu.
I know.
Because I haven't been into Big Woods Bloomington in probably at least 6 months, which is my bad. Because like I said, every time I go, I have good food and a great experience. Right. Tell me about what this is on the new food menu.
So we completely redid our entire menu. It's about 90% new.
Wow.
I would say,
So
no
minus
more
our
pulled
pizzas.
pork nachos.
Really?
No, just
You're like, that's the 10%. I was like, damn. I was like, okay.
That would never go.
We even took our pulled pork nachos and put it on a pizza. Minus the chips. So it's an amazing pizza. But we started serving salmon on the regular. We have a really good salmon miso bowl now.
Oh, all right.
Our carnitas bowl is just on point. And then our fish tacos, they make the tortilla look tiny. They are that massive.
Are they battered, grilled?
Oh yeah, they're
I
beer
figured
battered.
if it's a big old chunk, it's battered. Yeah,
and it's been a really good ride on. I think we've 3 weeks now on our new menu.
Okay,
so,
and you're going well. So what was that catalyst? Because normally, people do menu revamps all the time, but you don't see 90% menu change unless it's a restaurant that's changing their menu 4 times a year, and their whole thing is seasonality, which that's not what Big Woods Bloomington is. So what was it? We're like, hey, we need to just scrap this and let's really just give this a whole new go.
I think the big thing, in my opinion, was it'd been 4 years since they had a new menu, so they wanted to kind of get all of our locations on the same menu. You could go to Speedway before and they would have a couple of different things that Bloomington wouldn't, or you'd go to Franklin and they'd have some things that even Speedway wouldn't have.
That makes sense.
So we wanted to get everybody kind of on the same page, take stuff from everywhere, including Hard Truth, which they have a bit more elevated menu. But we even took some of their items, kind of made them ours, and now all of the Big Wood restaurants, you will have the exact same plate, the exact same food, great quality.
That makes sense. A little more continuity across the board. All 9 locations, you said? So, and then it makes sense for the mothership to maybe have some special things or things that might be a little a step up. So we actually did a very brief, 15-minute podcast with, I don't know if he's still the head chef for the company, Tony Benegas.
He's not, but I actually listened to that one.
Yeah, because that was
he's great.
Yeah, he was awesome, man, from Puerto Rico. And
yes.
I had just gotten back from my first time in Puerto Rico. I was
nice.
like, let's talk. Let's go. Yeah. I was so pumped. And he was so good. You could just tell he knew stuff so well. And he was very good with just media stuff, which you don't see that with maybe a ton of exec chefs sometimes. Sure. Where they're like, I don't want to talk to them. I do stay in the back and I do what I do well, Yeah. But he, just talked a big game and it backed it up from what I could tell. And sounds like you're still in very good hands now.
He was tremendous. And I know that he was kind of, and I think from what I gathered from getting to know him a little bit is he's one of those fixer guys. Mm-hmm. So, he came in and really did a lot of work with a lot of our locations, getting things kind of shorter, but as a lot of those guys are, they move.
Yeah. Come in, fix it. I know a lot of people like that in the hotel industry where they go in, they fix it, and they move on to the next project, like what needs taken care of.
Yeah. But he was a good, strong leader. He actually spent some time up on the hill at Hard Truth as well.
Oh, nice.
In that restaurant. So.
Yeah. I hadn't even thought. I thought about it briefly after we had booked this, and I didn't remember till just now. I was like, we kind of did a Hard Truth one. Yeah. But it was because we did the 6 live ones at the chamber event. Yes. They're little shorts.
Oh, yeah.
But it was a great time. Yeah. But my buddy Patty runs all the Upland restaurants, and I know that they've had, they did a similar thing where it's like, hey, sometimes you go Fountain Square and it's something different than Bloomington. And I did the same thing where it's like, hey, let's get this. You know what you're getting, where you're going.
Yeah.
You know, minor exceptions based off of like, oh, Columbus has this badass pizza oven, so they can still do pizzas. But for the most part, as a company, I think it makes things run much more smoothly when you have that continuity all the way across the board. So that makes sense.
And it brings down the food cost a little bit.
Yeah.
From our vendor's side, if we're ordering massive quantities of the exact same item, they can be like, all right, we can cut you in a little bit better. So
100%, but purchasing power is what it's all about. What about, all right, so this new, have you had a chance to try much of this?
I have had a couple of them, but not at the Bloomington location.
But
I'm due.
Okay. So let's favorite menu item that you guys are getting off of this new menu. What's the go-to?
I'm going to go with our Hoosier burger.
Okay.
So it's all of our burgers are half pound. It's pulled pork, half pound patty with our garlic aioli and our new whiskey glaze.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, it is.
That takes me back, not to bring you down
And
the level.
candied bacon. I should throw that on there. Yeah.
Gun. Oh, nice. There you go. Garrett brought up the old episode there.
Oh, nice.
Not to put you on this level, but just when you said whiskey, it makes me think of the Jack Daniel's sauce at TGI Fridays. We don't have one in town.
Okay.
But back in the day, I mean, again, I'm talking maybe a decade ago.
Yeah.
That was the one thing that like TGI Fridays where I'm like, you know what? They're one of the better chains simply because of this one sauce. And it was just good. Yeah. It's just like a whiskey glaze. It's a little sweet.
Yeah.
But that sounds money, especially because I'm sure the whiskey glaze is probably a little sweet. Counteracts with the garlic aioli, the richness from the pulled pork. Man, son, that sounds really good. Oh, well, I just love too. He's like, all our burgers are a half pound, but that's not enough, so we're putting pulled pork on there too.
That's right. Yeah. I think for me, it's probably the fish tacos. I mean, really, the Bloomington restaurant has always been, for a long time, it was the only one of the restaurants where you could get the little street tacos. And Chef Dan was crushing it with different ones. And then Tom Hubbard was in there. Chef Tom was doing some great tacos. So I just know personally from personal experience, if I go to the Bloomington Big Woods, I'm getting some good tacos. So yeah, any tacos they have on the menu, that's where I'm.
Glad to shout out Chef Dan too, because he was there for so long and made some really good freaking food. I mean, he did that one. Wasn't it James Beard like semifinalist for like the mushroom burger?
Yes,
I totally forgot about that. I went and tried that thing. It was phenomenal.
It was awesome. So that's actually before I started working for the enterprise, my first introduction to, Big Woods or Quaff On or anything was sitting down out on the porch at that restaurant eating that burger, and then asking the waitress asking me to get on Instagram. So this would have been 2015. Okay, get on Instagram and post something, and I'm like, do you know how old I am? I don't have Instagram. I do now, but
you're like, I've gotten with the times.
Yeah. It was a great burger.
Oh, because that's how you voted. That's right. I forgot because you had to put like the hashtag and
they won.
Oh, I know. Yeah. It was like that thing crushed it. And it was one of those where it wasn't even like, oh, I'm voting for them because they're local or they're my friends. Like, no, this shit just tastes good.
Well, and what's funny about that too, because I'm one of those. First of all, I love food. My entree into doing what I'm doing is definitely through the culinary lens. And so but I've got my little rules like everybody does. And I get a little worked up about fancy burgers. Cause I mean,
it's a burger,
which it's not like what I'm saying is if you get the right meat and you prepare it simply, you don't really need much, but that burger, the balance of that demi-glace on the top and I think it had, it was brie cheese and then like an arugula. It was perfect. Yeah. It was a perfect bite.
So would you say that converted you to maybe being a little more open-minded about
yes.
bougie burgers?
Yes, I'm a little more open-minded about bougie burgers, but I love a good smash burger, and they did add the smash burger to the Hills menu, which I'm real excited about.
Oh, nice. There you go. So I know you've got one, and you've got Brown County, you have Bloomington, you have Speedway. What are some of the other locations that you guys have for the Big Woods?
Franklin.
Okay.
They're actually on a golf course. They're on a country club, Hillview Country Club.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't know, but it's open to the public.
Huh.
So go to Franklin. Yeah. We've got Edinburgh, which is a pizza restaurant. We've got the two in Nashville. We have Hard Truth Hill and Big Woods Pizza in Nashville.
Noblesville,
Hazeldale.
Yeah, okay.
146 in Hazeldale. There's
Yeah,
a Big Woods
that's
up
my
there.
old stomping grounds.
Oh, yeah.
I know. I drove my moped on 146 a time or two back in the day.
Oh yeah, and
Yeah.
then there's
Fashion Mall, Simon Indy.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
Yep.
right. Yeah, because that's my little sister used to be a server and bartender at Mimi's Blue Meatball. It's closed now,
yeah.
but it was there right when you guys opened up. Like you've got the bar in the middle of the food court,
Yeah.
and then the restaurant too. It's like such an interesting setup.
And
It
then we
is.
have the garage. We've got a
Oh,
bar in the garage.
Where
too.
like Mass Ave kind of dead
Yep.
ends, they've got that garage.
Yeah, yeah.
I haven't
Have you
gone-
been in the Bottle Works?
No, I
project?
have not yet. You're like the a millionth person to
It
ask
is.
me. I know I'm slacking.
It's so cool.
It's the
it
foodie
really
mecca.
is cool as hell. And they've got like Brazilian street food vendor. They've got Jay's Lobster Truck. They've got
Jay's Lobster. I've had that multiple times.
Yeah.
The Friends of Fred guys are cool.
Yeah.
We've because we run Food Truck Friday and have put on like all the food truck stuff in Bloomington.
Yeah.
For a couple of the Friends of Fred trucks have come down. The main guy that I can't remember his name that runs it has come down to a Food Truck Friday. We've never like really expanded our partnership, but they kind of do their thing in Indy. We kind of do our thing in Bloomington, and we're happy to be like, oh yeah, so if you want to send us a truck, we'll send one, or vice versa. But that Jay's Lobster truck, man.
Yeah, it's legit.
I need to talk one of these local food. I mean, we are fortunate with some very good local food trucks here in Bloomington covering, like, seriously, I think the best Thai in town is a food truck.
Yeah.
I think one of the best burgers is
Yeah.
like the best doner kebabs, some of the best barbecue.
I was so happy that you had Doner Kebab on here.
Oh dude, he's the man.
He is awesome.
He's so great.
Yeah.
Every Friday morning, I get to switch yard park at 9 a.m., put the trucks in place, and then go about my day. And every time Hamid's just like, "I love you, brother." Like it's just every time I'm just like, "Oh, I love you too, man." Like stop. Just makes me feel good about yourself. And then he'll be like, "Everybody love you. Everybody love you." Like, no, dude, everybody loves you. I was like, his episode got like 6,000 views in
awesome.
24 hours. I was like, if that was not a testament to how many people have gone by that food truck or just love, it's more than just the food, it's the people too, you know?
It is.
You've got to have, do you know how many staff are under the Hard Truth Big Woods Quaff umbrella?
I think it's around 650.
Wow. That's so many. That's awesome
lot.
though. That's great. Again, you guys have just grown quickly. It's cool.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun.
I love it. Well, again, I don't feel like a lot of times you see that and you see sacrifice of quality, and I haven't seen that from my perspective at all.
No, they do a great job, and really, and that's on the Hard Truth side of things. Making whiskey. To your point earlier, it's not it's not as quick of a turnaround as creating food for somebody and getting it in their belly, but so that attention to quality and that really obsessive nature of making sure all of our ingredients are top notch from the beginning. We're waiting 6 years, so it better be good when it goes. And,
yeah, you can't just go make a minor tweak.
no, and so like our corn farmer, there's a lot of Bloomington ties. So the guy who grows our corn and our wheat's name's Doug Miller. He's a 6th generation farmer, and one of his sons, Ian Miller, has a concrete business in Bloomington, and then his other son, Caleb, has Bent Hair Studio.
Yeah, that's right.
in Bloomington.
Okay.
So Caleb's father grows all of our corn and our wheat that's in the bourbon that we're taking
That's
to
awesome.
25 states.
I wonder if it's his. I don't know. It's one of the Bent boys, Caleb, and then I can't remember the other guy's name. It was right there. Anyway, one of their moms has the Bent sticker on the back of her like Subaru, and she comes through the drive-through all the time.
That's
in Nashville.
That's Caleb's
mom.
Yeah,
Okay,
she's sweet as can
she's
be.
so sweet, and
she's awesome.
she's so proud of her son too. She was like,
Yes.
"Oh, are you like you're over here from Bloomington, like my son?" And I was like, "I know, Caleb. Yeah. Like they do great stuff over there.
Yeah,
Well,
they're
that's awesome.
terrific people. So,
Yeah. Well, that's cool. I love hearing the ties again. Like we said, Brown County, we're neighbors, so it's like we're all doing just like I said, cool shit. Your kids will have a blast at Constellation Stage and Screen's upcoming musical, The True Story of the Three Little Pigs, on stage October 25th through November 10th at the Waldron Arts Center. There are two sides to every story, and when the big bad wolf takes the stand in Pigsylvania's trial of the century, he finally gets his say. Enter the jury box and help decide the fate of the big bad wolf in this musical adaptation of the hit children's book. See The True Story of the Three Little Pigs on stage October 25th through November 10th in downtown Bloomington. Find tickets at cconstellation.org.
I'm a proud Bloomingtonian. I've been here now since I was 17 years old, came to IU, and Just never left Bloomington. I didn't bloomerang myself back. I just
You
never
just
left.
knew better. Yeah.
I stayed here. So
Where were you from before you came here?
grew up in Evansville.
Okay,
Went to
yeah.
Evansville Harrison, graduated in 92, came to IU for my freshman year in 92, and graduated with my degree in 2000. So math doesn't work exactly correct.
Couple
but,
victory laps.
Yeah.
Hey, you graduated with your degree. It's more than I could say.
I always had
dropped
a job. I always had a job. So I don't know if you remember, how long have you been in Bloomington?
2009.
2009. Yeah, I was long gone, but outdoor shop here in Bloomington for a long time called Outdoor Outlet.
Okay.
Around the late 90s, early 2000s. Ran that for a while, worked for Options for Better Living for a number of years, and worked at Center for Behavioral Health for a little while as well.
So yeah, you were working your way through college,
always
doing your
working.
thing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, were those, I was going to ask, take us from degree to coming on at Hard Truth. Did you just kind of do that? Was that the run?
Yeah, so I ended up with my degree in recreation therapy from
Okay.
IU. And one of my buddies from Evansville was selling beer for Quaff On. And I had always, so growing up in Evansville, there's a lot of kind of German and Dutch heritage down there. So my dad and his buddies, every year they make sausage and they'd make farmer wine every year. And so once I got old enough, I got to join them on those endeavors. So, and then I love science. So this, and then I love creating flavors with food. So that convergence of science and creating flavors is perfect for distilling.
Absolutely.
And so then I brewed a bunch of beer in college for fun, for parties, living on 2nd Henderson. And
There it is. I love the shout out.
oh yeah, Dr. Eyeball, he was my landlord. Have you met Stephen Ball?
Oh, I don't think I have. No.
So he was the eye doctor at Dr. Tavel here on the east side for years, just retired. But he's a longtime Bloomington
when
guy.
did he just really recently
Just like
retire?
a year ago.
Okay, I think
Yeah.
I did meet. He used to come with. We called him the Dr. Tavel girls. Some like when we did bingo at Kalau.
Yes.
they would come every Wednesday night and they'd bring him.
And
he
he
was a blast. He was awesome.
A blast.
Yeah, he was so cool.
He still is a blast, and you can find him at Sleepers every now and again.
Oh, there you go.
Shout out to Sleeper.
Yeah, for sure.
But so Dr. Eyeball was my landlord. And so anyways, I brewed a bunch of beer there in his house for fun. So when my buddy started working for Quaff On, I had always wanted to see what a real brewery was like. So I said, hey, can I come check out the brewery? I did. It was like a big pirate ship, just a bunch of dudes making beer.
Yeah.
It was wild in there. And I was like getting ready to turn 40. So I figured it was probably a good time to do something weird with my life. And so I asked my wife, I said, hey, what do you think about me working like one day a week in this brewery just for fun? And she said, sure, whatever, and she's always been very supportive of my endeavors. So, so I did that. And right when I did was right when they had started the distillery upstairs. And so I started poking around and realizing that the plan was still forming. And so kind of my obsessive brain about, coming up with creating flavors and ideas for new ventures. One of my buddies was a good distiller down at Starlight at Huber Orchard and Winery. So I talked to him and kind of had this plan, the seed of a plan, presented it to the owners, and the rest is history.
Yeah, you're like, I love that. You're like, the plan's still forming, so I had to find how to make myself part of that plan.
That's right.
Yeah. Hey, that's good.
Right. Yeah.
That's what you need to do.
But I love creating flavors. I mean, I always have. So I'm only child, only grandchild. My grandmother had me up on the kitchen table when I was little kid, like deconstructing her dishes, putting interesting, weird ingredients in my mouth. She always was like, you don't have to like this, but I want you to tell me what you're tasting.
Yeah.
And then she would make one of her dishes and leave out something, and then have me build in the flavor complexity and seasoning and stuff along the way. So this formed into my singular obsession with creating cool food. Plus my aunts from Japan got to learn traditional Japanese cooking. So this was all just a hobby for me and an obsession of, making barbecue for friends, doing big events for family, to be able to do something in that vein to make a living out of it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, that's amazing. It seems like your whole life, so you've been training your palate unintentionally
for
where you're at now.
Completely.
Yeah, I'm going to call my grandma after this. Be like, hey, why don't you, like, you made great food and I love you.
Yeah.
But you should have been training me.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
Dustin, can you tell us a little bit about your background before you ended up over at Gather Round?
Yeah, so I was in the Air Force for 4.5 years. I was actually a jet engine mechanic.
Oh, wow.
Before that, I grew up in Oregon. Not a whole lot to speak of there, but traveled all around the world in the Air Force, got out and was like, I've got family in Indiana, so here goes nothing. Moved here, bounced around a few jobs. I worked in warehousing and manufacturing and all of that, and then ended up at Gather Around Barbecue for about 2 years. After that, that's when I found Hard Truth Distilling and interviewed there, and they're like, "What kind of experience you have?" And I go, "Nothing, not at all. Looks fun though." And they were like, "Okay," and they gave me a shot and met Bryan, and yeah, it was
Paid off.
It's
Well,
definitely a wild ride.
sometimes that's a plus, a pro to have the blank canvas of the no experience. So you're
Well,
not
yeah.
breaking
Yeah.
bad habits. you know?
Right. Well, and the equipment that we have is very sophisticated, and it's so like having an eye for, being able to check up on, any kind of, maintenance along the way, being able to fix problems in real time. We run a continuous column. So the column, when it's running, it's making whiskey basically 24/7. So having someone with a disciplined skill set and consistency and reliability is great. And to be able to make decisions in real time, if it's 3 a.m, to what to do with the still if something's going wrong. So those skill sets are really what we hire for in those positions, not so much the fine tuning artistry of it, because really all that's done on the back end once it's sat in the barrel after 4 years.
Yeah.
So then we've got somebody from Bloomington, actually Chris Moore, who started as a tour guide. Well, actually, he was the wine steward at Kroguchi for years.
Okay, yeah.
Which is the one that I live real close by there. So he just he knew I worked at Hard Truth. He's like, "Oh man, I really want to go work there." And I was like, just give me some time. Because that time there were 2 employees, right? Before we moved to the new place.
Oh, okay. Early. Yeah.
But he stuck with, and now he's on the back end. He helps and really organizes all the efforts to evaluate barrels and work on blends with me. So that's kind of a different skill set. So we've got people that kind of do a little bit.
Everyone has their role. When I see the correlations between being a jet engine mechanic and running a still.
Yeah.
I didn't think about that, but that actually makes total sense.
Absolutely.
On how that skill set translates.
Yes.
You're like, yeah, if you were reliable enough and had a attention to detail enough to work on jet engines,
Yeah.
and they trusted you to do that.
Yeah.
I think you can handle doing a still.
Yeah, without question. Without question.
So were you out on aircraft carriers and
No, I was stationed in Okinawa, Japan, and
Okay.
Anchorage, Alaska. I was just on an Air Force base, and yeah.
that's still pretty sweet. I mean, I've never been to Alaska or Japan, so
Yeah.
more than I do there. Were you able to go travel off base very much?
Oh yeah, Japan. I'd been all over Okinawa. Like, it's a tiny little island. Had some really crazy foods. We'd go out and we'd try and get lost, and once we didn't know where we were, we'd just find a place that had a picture of food, and me and one of my friends would just walk in there and start pointing.
Yeah.
Like, we want this, and we just pay them. And it's kind of crazy. We got the whole idea one time. We were like, hey, we could be driving past some of literally the best food in the world and not even know it because we don't know what the signs are saying. So
Right.
why not just stop?
And that, in turn, you found some of the best food you've ever had?
Yeah, some of the best sushi. I feel like Japan's a hard place to beat sushi from. But
I can't imagine there'd be too many other places.
Yeah, that's actually what made me fall in love with sushi and curry. Oh, I love Japanese curry. It's, I think, better than Thai curry.
Really? Okay.
Hands down, yeah.
I love Japanese curry too. Were you on whenever I made it? I brought in some for the
And we talked about it, and you still never made me any.
You can really make a lot of Japanese curry at once, so it's a great one. Like if you need like a shift dinner or something.
Yeah. Just knock some of that out.
Yeah. I think in Okinawa it's probably hard to find a place making bad food. From what I've heard from the people traveling and stuff, it's just their attention to detail with foods. Definitely on bucket list for me to get out there.
Well, I feel like that's one of those things too. People might be like, "Oh, I don't like sushi." It's like, well, we probably just haven't had good sushi.
Exactly.
You know?
And I
you go
think
to
that was
places
my
like
thing.
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're like, "Oh, I get it now." Yeah. What about in Anchorage? I feel like, honestly, I mean, it's still the States, but I feel like that had to be a cool freaking experience.
Oh, yeah. Anchorage, I did a lot of the bar scene then because I think it was 21, 22 when I moved there. So did a lot more of the bar scene than the food scene, but there's still some really good like crab out there. There's a restaurant called Humpy's, the best king crab I've ever had.
Oh, I'm sure it's cheap too.
Oh, yeah.
That's so
And
sick.
they had great crab cakes.
Yeah. What a life. 21, 22 out in Anchorage, just
living
boozing it up,
yeah.
eating some great seafood.
Yeah.
I was like, that doesn't sound like a bad time of life at all.
No, not at all.
Well, yeah, what's the crowd out like there? You got a lot of ice road truckers, like tree limber or timber workers, you know?
Not a lot.
Really?
That's more on like what they call the northern slope
Okay,
of
so
Alaska. Like Anchorage, it's legit just downtown Indy.
it's
is
still a
what
city,
it
but
looks
just
like. Oh,
colder.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. A lot more snow.
Shows
So-
how untraveled I am. We're just being like, oh, there's a lot of people cutting down trees. You're like, no, dude, it's a city.
Yeah.
You idiot. Cool. Thanks for filling
Hey,
us in.
if it makes you feel any better, I would have asked the exact same question.
Okay, all right, it does.
No,
It does
I had no idea.
Just a little bit. I'm
had no idea.
literally, I'm just like sitting here as I've gotten my shit more together throughout my life where I'm just like, okay, my number one regret is not traveling.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just like, when can I make this happen? Where can I make it happen? You know, as far as just getting away. And my main thing lately, I think I decided is I just want to hop in the car, take 2 weeks off and just travel, just drive around the country.
Yeah.
Just go,
absolutely.
almost no plan.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just go driving, sleep in the car one night, get a $100 hotel the next night, stay with some friends wherever, you know.
It's unbelievable. I mean, yeah. With my wife and I have been trying to travel more, and just the more you go, you know, wherever you go, it's like you can find, if you're looking for something great, you're going to find it.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's this country is beautiful.
Yeah, just go to a bar, ask the people sitting there where to get food. Don't go to Yelp.
Yep.
Don't go to Google reviews. Go find the locals.
Say, where do you eat whenever your shift is over?
Yeah, hey, I'm in town for one night. Where do I go? Yeah, exactly. Yeah. What's your go-to? What are you up for?
Industry bars, those are the best, man. I love those places because they usually have killer food.
Oh, absolutely. And then everyone's you have good bartenders and you get great service because they're there because they get tipped well because it's all industry people coming in.
Yeah.
So it's a perfect storm of just like, okay, this is my place. I love when I've stumbled across that, like going wherever, the little bit of traveling I have done, and you accidentally stumble upon it and you're like, oh shit, this is Alley Bar, but just here. And it just makes you happy.
Yes, absolutely.
Like this is their Alley Bar. This is their office lounge.
Yes. It turns out one of my best friends, we just opened up Colorado 3 weeks ago. One of my best friends has been the chef at a little place in Colorado Springs called Chiba Bar, and it is the industry bar. So not only is the food killer, they do like donburi bowls and little bit of sushi and just some interesting Asian fusion stuff, but their cocktails are killer. They're open till 3 a.m. And they also keep their prices down because most of their clientele are industry folks.
Yeah.
So they're not going to go spend, you know, so most of their plates are like $10 to $14
Dude.
for like some scratch made legit food.
Chiba Bar?
Chiba Bar in
CHIBA.
Yeah, it's killer. It's
My sister
killer.
lives in Steamboat Springs,
Okay.
and I haven't
Yeah.
visited yet.
Yeah.
So now I'm like Steamboat, Colorado.
There you go.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
think they're super close, but
Yeah.
that sound the way you just described that made me want to like buy a plane ticket tomorrow.
It's perfect.
or
It's
just
like-
hit the road.
Yeah, it's like a Tokyo cyberpunk themed place. So it's pretty neat place. Yeah.
Yeah, that's badass.
Yeah.
All right, sorry, I get distracted.
Yeah.
Season 5 of the No Dishes podcast is brought to you by VisitBloomington.com. VisitBloomington.com is the best resource for restaurant and culinary information, special events, fun activities, places to stay, and more in our area. We share a similar mission here on the No Dishes podcast of highlighting local businesses and the people who make our community unique. We can't thank them enough for hopping on board. Check them out at VisitBloomington.com to easily plan your next meal, visit, or night out on the town. Tell us about some of the bourbons that you brought here and then some of the stuff that people can find out on the shelves.
Sure. So, you know, one of the things that we're kind of chatting about before we got started and really why I think it makes a lot of makes a lot of sense for the No Dishes podcast is, you know, not only a lot of the folks in Bloomington that work at Hard Truth, but really as I'm taking, you know, Hard Truth out around the country, you know, geographically, we're bringing the Hoosier state out, right? So there's a lot of pride out there. So right now we've got our Sweet Mash Bourbon, which is in the black label. This one actually is an interesting bottle. This is for our, this is a rye whiskey. This is our Sweet Mash Rye. But there's a little picture here on the bottom. So that is a little 1-barrel floating rick house. So a rick house is basically an aging warehouse for the whiskey. And usually they have thousands of barrels in them. So, you know, my partners had this idea, what if we built one for 1 barrel and floated it on the pond? So it's been this incredibly kind of kitschy, you know, like a little tongue-in-cheek attraction on the property, right? So people go out, they feed the fish. They're like, is that a barrel of whiskey out there? So we didn't put it out there because we thought, hey, this is like an innovative way to make whiskey. There is Jefferson Ocean, which they put the whiskey on barges and take it across the ocean. And the sloshing and the stuff does add interesting character. But what we wanted to do was create, a tourist attraction, but also be able to do something good with it. So we last year established our Grounded in Truth campaign, which is kind of our give back. And so what we do is we portion of proceeds from each bottle of this plus 100% from this, but also the project we did with Mellencamp Whiskey Company go to fund our Grounded in Truth campaign, which goes directly to Farm Aid. So supporting our family farmers like the ones that we work with, like Doug Miller, Dwayne Kuhlenschmidt, on the back end, Travis, and these hardworking farmers who don't have big factory farms. They're mom and pop organizations. So we give back to Farm Aid, which helps to create a better environment for them to thrive, but also to support sustainable farming. So that's this particular bottle, and this is actually, it's not been released yet. We've got some folks auctioning it off in bourbon clubs around the country, getting hundreds of dollars for each bottle. Sick. So it's all going back for a good cause. So
absolutely. Well, it makes sense that the cause is Farm Aid because again, what you do is reliant on farmers. Yes. So it's very full circle. I love that.
Yeah, but really our relationship with our farmers started way before we even turned a shovel of dirt on our property. So, and they're the same farmers that we still have a relationship with because what they're growing is what you're tasting in the bottle. It's the most important part.
Yeah, it's not like you guys just grew and then said, okay, see ya, thanks for helping get us here. No. That's awesome. That's great to hear. I love that it says aged in the world's smallest floating rack house.
Yeah, of course we had to get Guinness involved. but really,
$2,000 to have them come out. But,
right. But anytime anyone, if you see any of this custom, bottle, any of this whiskey in this bottle is 100% mash fermented, distilled, and aged on our property. People around, especially on Bloomington, probably know us for the spirits that we put out first as we were waiting for our whiskey to age, because really the first spirits were mainly distributed just in Indiana. So the cinnamon vodka, toasted coconut rum being the two that are probably the most popular.
Of course, yeah.
And a lot of bars and restaurants in Bloomington carry those plus some of our whiskeys. And if they don't, please ask them to.
Yeah, that never hurts. Yeah.
I was saying earlier, sometimes I go out and going into Texas, we getting distribution and getting people excited about our brand sometimes is a little bit easier than right around home base because I think people, they see us all the time. So they kind of, there's so many different brands that we're just kind of another one. But really, one of the things I want is for folks in Bloomington to be as proud of this as we are, because we're really, we're telling the story of Bloomington and Brown County and the whole, South Central Indiana story as we go out in the country.
Well, and it's one of those things where you take it for granted when you're around it all the time.
Oh, sure.
So, like you said, people might be like, oh, Hard Truth. Yeah, they do cinnamon vodka and toasted coconut rum. They've never even tried your bourbon because they just have already written you off.
Right.
Because that's all they knew, because that's all they could know you for however many years.
Right. And we're always, innovating with new expressions. So we have basically 4 rye mash bills and 4 bourbon mash bills. Mash bill being the recipe.
Right.
So and the recipe can vastly change the flavor of the whiskey. So and then we do special stuff, one-offs that usually drop. Like we've got we're doing a release this upcoming weekend of a very special rye whiskey finished in French oak barrels in collaboration with Mellencamp Whiskey Company. And again, portion of that and features artwork by John Mellencamp on the label, and a portion of proceeds from that goes to fund Farm Aid.
Okay, so I knew Mellencamp played Farm Aid. I wasn't sure when he said Mellencamp. I was like, is that Mellencamp?
Yeah, so he founded he and Willie and Neil Young are the 3 original founders of Farm Aid in 1985.
Oh, okay. See, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
My good friend, she's been on tour. She waited on him at Yonkos for so many years.
Oh yeah.
That he gave her a job once he started going on tour again, like 2 years ago.
Get out of here.
And so now she's like one of the tour managers.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. And so she's like, she'll send videos and it's like behind stage is Willie playing or whoever.
Yeah.
And, it's cool getting the inside scoop. It's so cool for her just to go from waiting on someone at a table for 12 years. And they're like, you know what? You know what you're doing. Yeah. You've been waiting on me for so many years. Like, why don't you come show? Yeah. Keep doing what you're doing. But
Yeah.
Probably maybe get paid more and go on tour with some of the biggest rock stars that, I've ever played.
It's weird. That's what a weird life. I see some of those, I'm like, oh my God, I can't imagine, But,
yeah, those Yonkos girls, I tell you what, there's so many hardworking girls over there, and my buddies on the grill too, but they,
nice.
The volume they do over there, man, they crank it.
It's
They're
unbelievable.
slinging wine, they're slinging great steaks.
A lot of my some of her best friends when they were here in college were waitresses at Yonkos.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
They're like generations of now moms with kids here in college who are like, I was a waitress at Yonkos. And they come back and get the garlic. And then they keyed me in quickly on all the hacks, like the garlic rolls. And getting the meatballs with the garlic rolls and the side of sour cream.
100. That's the
little sandwich, right?
That's the main hack.
That's
absolutely.
It.
Yeah.
First, when someone opened my eyes to that, I was like, oh my God, how did I miss this?
I like some spice. I don't like to be sweaty if I don't need to be sweaty. I already sweat enough being a big guy,
Yeah.
But when you put the meatball with the sour cream and the bread, it's perfect. Dude. But if I just had the meatball plain, I'm like, why am I sweating so much? So it is nice. It tempers it a little bit.
Yeah.
Better little flavor profile.
Right.
Anything else that people can expect to find from Hard Truth in the future that they don't know about yet?
Sure.
Or anything that you haven't shouted out yet?
Yeah. So, I mean, I know you get viewers all over the place, but hardtruth.com is real easy. We have those spirit finder widgets. So you put in your zip code and it'll tell you can find it wherever you are. But we're always innovating. Like I said, we're on track to be in all 50 states in the next 2 years. So right now our focus is getting distribution out in the market and crushing it here in our home state. And keeping adding jobs for fellow Hoosiers here.
Hell yeah, man.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Dustin, what about Big Woods Bloomington? Anything else? I know you've already mentioned new cocktail list, new food list, anything that, people might want to come in and that they might not know about?
We do not have a new event space we just built this year.
Nice.
About 50 people seating wise. We rent that out. We're getting ready to start trivia here in the next month or so on Mondays.
Okay.
So that'll be coming back. A lot of people have been asking for us to do that, but yeah.
Who's doing the trivia?
Bloomington Pub Quiz.
Nice. That's my buddy Josh Johnson. He's the man. He's the shit.
Yeah. For people, like if you remember, there was the little garage that had some seating.
Exactly.
In it.
Yeah, you had.
And then the little outdoor area.
Correct,
so what they did was we've been working on this since COVID to try to, navigate what we can or cannot build there.
Right.
So what they did was they attached to that garage and went out into that garden space. And so now we have a whole new indoor seating area, which except private event or just rollover seating. So basically more butts in the seats there.
Yeah, that's great. We went and did some cool events there back in the day. We did beer pairings with different ice creams. Yeah. We rolled our cart back in there and paired ice creams with different beers. And we'll have to get some chocolate mousse collabs going again.
Oh yeah.
We've done them in the past and they've died off. Not until I don't mean it. Yeah, it's just we're all very busy.
Yeah.
But it's happened with Uptown. Uptown's had our ice cream, then they don't have it. And but again, we're not like, what the hell?
Yeah.
They're just like, we got shit going on, dude.
Hey, so I've watched a few of these, and one of my favorite parts is when people talk about restaurants that they miss in Bloomington.
Yeah, so
I haven't heard you talk much about some that you.
You turned the tables on me. I love it. All right, let's go.
Let's go.
Yeah. Well, I was gonna say I could tell you've watched episodes. Yeah. You know the flow because I was just about to cut to. All right, let's talk about restaurants.
Oh, was that it? Okay. All right.
No, you nailed it. Good. I love that you just
good. Okay.
Like
I was afraid I was gonna miss that segment, and I'm like,
and I'm just like, all right, that's a wrap. You're like, no. I have a thing.
I want to talk about Mark Pie. Come on.
Yeah. Better business, better community. For over a century, the Greater Bloomington Chamber of Commerce has been a cornerstone of business growth and community development. They are dedicated to helping local businesses thrive. Their business is all about your business. Join the Chamber today. Call 812-336-6381 or visit chamberbloomington.org to learn more. So we had a Mark Pies up on 82nd, like in Nora in Indy, that my granddad loved. I don't remember the one down here. This is kind of a cop out. I don't know if it counts, but my first job was at MCL in Castleton, the MCL cafeteria. When I moved to Bloomington in 2009, it still showed a MCL like on Google, and I'd heard it was out by the mall. I went over there, but then on Google it said Liberty Drive.
Oh,
So
okay.
I went over to Liberty Drive and I could not find it, but Google said it was still there.
Yeah.
So apparently I think it closed just months before I moved down here. So I was sad that it's not like a Bloomington restaurant I missed, but I just loved it. It was my first job, good food. The cinnamon roll with like the shattered crack, cinnamon sugar at the bottom, butter. That like hardened up.
Oh yeah, it was wild because there was a movie theater where Dick's is.
Okay.
And then the MCL was where you go in that entrance in College Mall on the right. And then,
okay.
movie theater was on the left.
Thank you. See, no one's ever told me exactly where it was.
Yeah, I ate there a few times. Got me some fried okra.
Dude, it's so good. One, it's like, it was just an interesting job. I mean, the median age of the customers coming in there was 73.
Right.
I mean, I'm spitballing that number.
Right, yeah.
But no, it's a very popular one that people mention, but I will also tag along with is No Coast. Just because, I mean, just a straight up seafood restaurant.
Yes.
I mean, when they were part of Butcher's Block, like when the first iteration of No Coast, which not too many people went there. That's how cool and hipster I am.
Yeah.
No, but that was great. And then they moved it over onto the square,
Right.
Where Inkwell is now. And just phenomenal, man. Just like, I mean, they were flying in, and I understand why they went under. I mean, it's, you can't fly in seafood every day, like, but they were. And so like, I think that's why I miss it so much is I know that it's highly unlikely we'll get that again.
Yeah, that's one of those kind of restaurants that fortunately for my travels now, I get to, in bigger cities, there are a lot of restaurants kind of like that's always been a part of Bloomington, which is where you get some of that bigger city benefits in a small city package.
Of course, yeah.
But I hated to see that one go. That was one of our favorites.
It was tough, man.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of, and their brunch they did was really good.
Mm-hmm.
And then Give Me Some Mo. He was a food cart. Do you remember him? Moises
Yes.
Cordone. Shout out Moises.
Yeah.
He, it was funny. He would tell me, he's like, dude, I just buy the rotisserie chicken at Sam's Club, pull it, but then put it in my own sauce.
Yeah.
But he would set out in front of Atlas before we even started Food Truck Friday. He did some lunches outside the Chocolate Mousse stand.
Yeah.
And he would rub the burrito like in butter before he
Get
put it
outta
on the
here.
thing. Oh, dude. And it was just like, it was just the best chicken burrito I've ever had in my life. Still is to this day.
Right.
And it was just such a unique flavor profile, whatever the hell he did to it, that I've still never had anything come close to how it like, it was just different and just like struck a chord that maybe I've had some other really good chicken burritos, but none that like really just like tickled my fancy quite like that one did. The tamale cart, which was actually a food truck, they did really good like rotating food. It was just an all black truck, some younger dudes, and they did, if I opened a food truck, they did like what I would want to do, which is like, hey, every time we're doing 3 sandwiches, they're always going to be different. They're just going to be 3 badass sandwiches, and that's what we're going to offer.
Yeah.
Less,
but super high quality for what you do put.
Yeah. You're there's 7 ingredients. It's bougie. It's like, oh, we made our own kimchi and did this. Like it's all like scratch stuff. Yeah. And just like, unique flavor profiles going on. Man, there's a million others.
Yeah.
Mad Mushroom, darn good soup. How about yourself?
My first meal in Bloomington was at, when I came here my freshman year, was with my parents at Uptown.
Nice.
And I'll never forget because I had eaten a lot of international cuisine, but I'd never had peanut sauce before.
Oh.
So this is 1992, fall 1992, and he had Indonesian chicken kebabs with peanut sauce, basically like chicken satay. And it just kind of blew my mind. I was like, what is this peanutty, like
delicious
peanut butter, savory, spicy nonsense with lime juice and whatnot. So, but yeah, I don't know. I've been here for a while. I've seen some good ones come and go. Mark Pie was a sentimental favorite for mine just because it was on the east side. And they just had some solid, it was white tablecloth, Chinese food. So
high-end Chinese food.
High-end Chinese food. So you can go get a nice glass of wine and get some good grub.
I think Sadie said her uncle ran that or something.
Is that right? Okay, yeah.
We'll have to look back on it, but I'm pretty sure.
Her dad was the manager.
Okay, that was it.
Okay, yeah. And then Mikado, over where Sakura 15 is now.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So when that was a sushi bar, Mark King was one of his places, and I knew Mark from college.
Owner of Truffles and now Feast.
Yes, and I think his parents might have been involved in Mark Pie as well.
Okay,
maybe originally, but Mikado, for a while they had this sushi chef named Joey, younger guy, and man, that dude, he was the level guy that you would get in a big city where you could just sit in front of him, and he would have 2 or 3 fish that were just flown in that day that were off menu, that he would just start slicing and putting in front of you. And
man.
all you did, I would always just close my eyes and sign my check at the end. I'm like, just put 20% on for you.
Yeah, that's worth it though. That's
It's
so good.
Yeah, so good. So, and then obviously the sentimental, the old school Irish Lime back whenever it was
that's
rocking and rolling.
Man.
That's a tough one.
I think that's
a tough one.
The first episode we've recorded since it's closed where we have gone over what you miss, because we talk a lot about what are your current favorite places. We don't always do the what do you miss.
Yeah.
So I am glad you brought that up, because that's not on every episode.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, Irish Line, little Blarney puffballs, and man, that one's fresh. That's a fresh wound.
Bloomington's always been a good place for interesting food and changing dynamics, and there, I love to see new stuff popping up, and there's been a few that have popped up in the last few years that I've really loved. Osteria Rago being one of them.
So good, dude.
I mean,
so good. I'm doing lunch there tomorrow.
Yeah.
And I haven't been in a couple months. I'm so
fact, our production manager Martin Gradoff, his brother
Cody
is back there.
Cody was on. Cody's such a talented chef. He just did the Monroe County Chefs Community Kitchen Chefs Challenge. Did really well. He came on the podcast back when it was audio only.
Oh, did he really?
Yep.
That's awesome.
So I've been texting him like, hey, like we need to get. It's been 3-4 years now. Let's get you back on. Let's talk Osteria. It's one of my favorite places. I think hands down a top 5 restaurant in Bloomington. So like, let's bring you back on now that viewership's higher and people can see your pretty face.
I can't get into that damn restaurant to eat anymore.
It's tough. I made
it makes me mad.
Legitimately, I made a reservation for lunch tomorrow.
Yeah.
I went on Open Table.
Yeah.
And I never do that. I'm just like, we'll go wherever. If it's busy, we'll go somewhere else.
Yeah.
But I was like, I'm getting Osteria tomorrow. Like I will not be denied.
Good for them, man.
Yeah.
Good
So
for Cody and everybody.
Oh, no, it's great. Yeah, they deserve it. It's just good freaking food, man. The chicken marsala, the charcuterie boards that they put together, just the sandwiches. It's all just fresh. It's just delicious. Finch's is one I miss a lot. Back when they were where Lenny's is, that was a go-to birthday spot. I mean, I went all the time, but for when like I picked my birthday dinner, I was like, I'm going to Finch's. I did that at least like 2 years in a row, I think. And then restaurant talent was incredible. I mean, that was just some really, really high-end, next level dining.
So the first time I met the chef at Talent, I was living out by Lake Monroe, kind of down past Fish and Shed. And I bought a house down there, this little house, and down below my property, it was kind of on the watershed of Lake Monroe. One afternoon, I'm looking down there, it was like July or something. It looked like someone had thrown like yellow or orange tarps down the hill. I'm like, what the hell is that? And then I found like chanterelle mushrooms.
Yeah.
They were everywhere. I was like, oh my God. So then I called my buddy and he said, no, those are legitimate. They're smooth chanterelles, edible, they're great. So I went into Chef Talent to Dave and I said, hey, would you buy any fresh chanterelles? He's like, yeah, I'll take as many as you can get. I've got some on the menu right now. So I went out there with my mountain bike and I rode down and I got just literally garbage bags full of them. Took them back, cleaned them up, and so that was my first time meeting him.
I love that. Yeah. And then on the menu, it's like fresh foraged.
Oh yeah.
It
really was.
Yeah, no, exactly. But you have to, as many descriptors as you can.
Oh yeah.
Is the way to do it.
He was very talented though, for sure.
Yeah. No, he still is running the whole show at IU Catering. And he's one of my unicorns I need to get on here.
Well, and also the Bloomington restaurant back, people know it as Quaff On, but now Big Woods Bloomington. Chef Dan, it's always been kind of an innovative spot.
Yeah.
Even in the restaurant group and a lot of like even the menu change that's currently is driven out of what succeeds in that location. So they've always knocked it out of the park. And that same day that we got the James Beer Burger, they used to have beef jerky as an appetizer. You could get a little cup of like hand smoked beef jerky right there. It was killer.
I love that.
Great idea.
Yeah. What was it? Used to be? This is killing me. It was like not a jazz kitchen. What was it before?
It was
Quaff On. It was. Does it start with a D?
Cafe Django.
Cafe Django. Thank you. Yes, that was going to bother me so much. That was a place that I never got to try.
Yeah,
I wanted to go try it, and the next thing I knew, like they were out, and but I always heard great things about it, and it was just quirky and weird and good food and a fun place.
Well, apparently, my family might have been single-handedly supporting Cafe Pizzeria all these years,
dude.
That one I was not expecting. So I grew up in Evansville, and everything down there is tavern style pizza, like very thin crust pizza. Cafe Pizzeria wasn't exactly that, but it was adjacent.
Yeah.
And so growing up, I didn't grow up with a doughy, thick crust pizza. I grew up with crackery, thin crust with a nice spicy sauce, and damn.
I know, dude. Also, just another fresh wound.
Yeah.
I'm more upset about Cafe Pizzeria than Irish. I mean, they both suck, but like.
Well, and they got their beer. They got an ability to sell beer there. But finally, like after so long, because I was like, I just want to go there and get a pitcher of beer.
Yeah.
And eat some old school 70s pizza and rock and roll. But
yeah, we would do trades with them. Just be like, hey, guys, you guys want some ice cream? You want some pizza?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Bring it over. We'll have it ready.
But I love that we've got a place that's in the fabric of the Bloomington restaurant scene because it's always been so killer. My friends coming up from Evansville to visit, we're always like, where are we going to go out to eat? Because there's always something different, whether it was Afghani food or Ethiopian food or, whatever.
Yeah.
Tibetan food.
Well, when I was 16 and my friends that I worked at a laser tag place in Carmel started to go to school down here, which is what made me start coming down here to visit them. And I just was like, I fell in love with the Upland Tenderloin. I fell in love with the Buffalo's Wings. I really fell in love with Smoking Jacks, which it's still solid, but I feel like it was better back in the day.
Sure.
Could be wrong. Still love me Smoking Jacks. I get it.
Oh, yeah.
Quite frequently.
Yeah.
They have a drive-through. If you didn't know.
Do they really?
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm here for.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, dude.
Okay.
Drive around. There's a window. You might sit there for 5 or 10 minutes till they notice you.
Right.
Because it's not like reused a ton. But I'll just sit there patiently, be on my phone, they'll open the window. What's up? That's just, you can go in and not be a lazy piece of shit. But for me, I'm like, I'll just drive around, stand by the window. But I love the cornbread salad over there. Sweet tea, corn, just regular cornbread, green beans, mac and cheese. Quarter pound or half pound pulled pork, just depending on how bad I want to feel about myself. So
I'll never forget just when Jack Cody had the rib cage that was down kind of, where was it? House Bar or whatever, the last House Bar. So it was called Rib Cage for a while. And it was Jack Cody before he did Smoking Jacks, I think that's right. But that was the first place I ever saw anyone do barbecue beef that wasn't like brisket or beef ribs. And he was just doing like all kinds of different roasts, but he would treat it just like a pulled pork. And I went in there one time and he was pulling some out for, I think he was catering for one of the sports teams and sliced me up some. And I was like, oh man.
Oh yeah.
I'm sleeping on slow smoking pork, or I'm sorry, slow
beef,
smoking beef. That's where it's at.
Well, and that's the thing with any barbecue place. I mean, Smoking Jack, you can still go there, and if you're getting the stuff that was made, that like it's still money. The Bloomington Town Planner is a community calendar owned and published by local residents John and Sharon Martin. Mailed out to Bloomington homes in December of each year, it features school schedules and community events. And don't forget the coupons at the bottom of the calendar. They'll save you money and help you decide on the next restaurant or retailer to check out here in the Bloomington area. Town Planner also has an online calendar which can be found at townplanner.com. Make sure to sign up for their weekly e-newsletter so you can stay on top of all the fun events going on around town. Dustin, you got any places that you kind of love in town to go eat out or maybe to grab a drink?
Me and my wife really like going to Homie's Hot Pot.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so she's real big into that. I really like it. The tap.
Yeah.
I love the...
Just got a 3-way?
Yeah.
Oh, did they really?
Uh-huh.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Their beer cheese, I think, is some of my more favorite beer cheese ever. Awesome. Ours is really good, but I really like the Taps beer cheese.
Okay, dude, I want to do a beer cheese tour now.
Yeah.
My buddy just went down to Speakeasy Pizza in New Orleans, which I've had their food truck. I've never been down to their restaurant. And he's like, dude, it's the best beer cheese I've ever had. Wow. So beer cheese has been front of mind lately. Yeah. So it's funny you brought that up.
I'll say the Taps in Indianapolis, their beer cheese isn't as good as the one here.
Oh, okay. See, this
Bloomington.
is I like the nuance. That's what we're here for.
See, I like where we're going with this because now we could do a beer cheese tasting flight. Because like I was down in Louisville, and they do it down there. It's all cold. It's almost like pimento cheese.
Yeah.
Oh.
So it's like a cold, like solidified version where you're dipping crostini in it.
I don't want
it's
that.
good, man.
Yeah,
it's good, but it's definitely not like if you're looking for like something to dip
dippable. Yeah. I want it to be liquid.
Yeah.
I don't want
gooey.
solid. I don't know. That's a good mix there.
Yeah,
you're doing it right.
Of course, you got to go with the normal Uptown. Uptown's a great place. I love their gumbo.
Oh, the gumbo's money.
Probably some of my favorite. Yeah.
Yeah, we're talking about bringing back Taste of Bloomington next year. And
Get out of here, really?
Yeah, I'm personally like spearheading it. It's
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I'll talk to you guys about it some
good.
more, but the idea is to do it on Kirkwood.
I've
And
been
I was
sad
talking
that it's
to
been gone.
Galen at Uptown. I was like, dude, because they haven't done it in the past because they're not going to pull staff to go. But if it's on Kirkwood in front of them, they're like, well, absolutely do it. If it's there, when we don't have to go off site really somewhere. And I was like, dude, just literally get a pan of gumbo out there.
Yeah.
Just do samples of the gumbo and you're gravy. That's it. It's so good.
Yeah, it is. I went to the their 40th, I think it was their 40th anniversary party. They did a private prefix dinner.
Yeah.
Did you go to that?
No, I did not. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That was a real, one of my most fun nights out of my life.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. Cause if you love the Uptown, they've got their sentimental classics, but when you walked in that big bar, it was right after they built the new bar room. They had service napkins with about 50 old fashions, 50 Manhattans, 50 Bellinis.
Just grab one.
And you just grab one.
Oh my God.
And
I love that.
They kept filling that bar up for the first 2 hours.
Dude,
It
what?
was an epic evening. It was really, really fun. And I mean, kudos to those guys for being in, keeping something going. That actually it might have been their 30th. I can't remember. It was 10 years.
Yeah, but it's been going for a long time. And they used to be up on closer near the Bird,
Right.
Or where Rockets, kind of that area, and then have moved down there and then expanded. And yeah, they know what the hell they're doing.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
They talked. They were on audio only. It came down during a lunch, right after a lunch rush.
Yeah.
Because I was underneath them, and I was like, "You hear how loud you guys are?" I'm just kidding. I need you to quiet down. Anyway, I was like, I didn't want to record. I just wanted to bitch to you about that.
Right. Yeah.
No, but they the way their knowledge and the way they talk about restaurants as a production or as a show is really fascinating because you look at it through a different lens when you go back in there and you do see how everyone just plays a role, plays their part. Like you were talking about the back end and the finishing, and you just do your job. It's like kind of as much as I hate the cheater that is Bill Belichick, where his whole mantra is just do your job. You know?
Yeah. It is. Yeah. And then of course I would be remiss if I didn't mention Doug Spradley from Farm Bloomington.
Absolutely.
His bar.
First
Doug,
episode we ever recorded.
Get
was
out of
Doug.
here. Really?
Yeah.
Doug's first of all, awesome human being. But he knows his whiskey and he knows his way around a cocktail and creating one. And he also happens to love our whiskey, which is a big honor for me.
I was
for a
gonna say.
guy that's that into whiskey to really truly love our whiskey without us selling it to him. He found it first. So
Wow.
anytime we're downtown, I always try to dip in and have a cocktail at Doug's.
Doug's the man. Him and Matteo at C3, they know what they're doing.
Oh,
Doug,
yeah.
And I mean, Doug, but like you said, just incredible human being.
Yeah.
And his knowledge, I mean, he's gone to so many international competitions for cocktailing. So yeah, what a huge compliment. Well deserved that he's like, yeah, your bourbon's great.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah. Anywhere else we didn't cover, fellas, before I let you go? Anywhere?
All of them, because I've
you're
got a
like,
bunch of friends.
You've been in town for,
Some of my best personal friends are the owners of Scenic View.
The Bells, yeah, absolutely.
Love those folks, and
They're great. And then
they
Fitch
still have
out
a
there is fantastic.
killer brunch out there.
Oh, it's so good, man. Every time I always do the same meal. I do chocolate chip pancakes and I do the crab cake Benedict.
Oh, that crab cake Benedict.
It's
is so
perfect.
good.
It's so good. Hot sauce on there. And then I get to go complain to Fitch about someone parking blocking the view. I'll be like, what the hell are they doing? They should know better.
Well, and if you're into Bloody Marys, we've got a damn good one at Big Woods. But I'll tell you what, we force whenever we get together as friends. Jenny Bell. Well, now she does it on her own, but she brings their mix because they make their mix. For their blend. So she'll bring the mix and she'll be like, "I'll bring the mix. You bring the vodka."
That's a match made in heaven.
That's it,
yes,
man. That's it.
You just need your third friend to be like, "All right, you're on garnish."
Yeah. And if you haven't had them on this yet, they are both. I don't know if you know them very well, but they're fun human beings. They're great for a conversation.
I bartended Mother's Day for them like 2 years ago, just randomly. They're like, Fitch hit me up like, "Hey, we need help. Is there any chance that you're happy to be free?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'll come make some mimosas."
Nice.
And just got my face ripped off. But it was great. I love bartending.
Yeah.
Like it's fun just to be back there, just like, you're just cranking. I mean, it's the same as tickets blowing up on the ice cream rail.
It is.
You're just cranking shit out.
Yeah.
It's one's whiskey, one's 14% butterfat homemade ice cream.
Yeah.
It's the same deal. Using your
Speaking
hands.
of which, your ice cream.
Yeah, you're like, let's talk about it.
Golly, man. So good.
Oh, thanks,
Congratulations for everything you guys built and are doing.
Appreciate it. Yeah, it's that Nashville store, man. We opened that thing 8 years ago. We never expected it to. It does higher sales than our Bloomington store.
Really?
It's crazy.
Wow,
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Drive-through.
Yeah.
Drive-through makes a big difference, and then it's not as seasonal. We do so much. There's no Starbucks in Nashville,
Right.
And we partner with Nick Schultz and Brown County Coffee Company, and we do a ton of coffee out there.
That's
so
awesome.
we're not here in Bloomington. We're 90% ice cream, 10%, Coney dogs, some other hot food. We've expanded that a lot over the last year or two. But Nashville, even people do a lot more hot food. They do a lot of coffee. So yeah, we never would have thought that would become like more revenue producing. But thanks, man.
That Spanish burger, man.
I know, we had to get rid of it. It was sad. People were up in arms, but we released the recipe.
Did you really?
Yeah, that was our thing.
Okay.
This had been going on for the last several years. We're like, hey, we love the Spanish burger. I love it as much as the next guy.
Yeah.
But you have people coming in here. They've been ordering that thing for 60 years.
Right.
And we're like, dude, there's gonna be blowback. But like our sales numbers were just not. We're like, we can't because we were renting kitchen space to go make it, and then you would just end up tossing out a bunch because you keep them on the steam table. And then we're like, well, we got these ovens now. Maybe we can make them to order. We tried to do everything we could. Promotions, nothing, and then there's just the numbers were just never there. And then we're like, okay, we're gonna get rid of it, but we're gonna give people the recipe.
That's awesome.
And that was the right move because it got a lot of the traction it got on social media.
Yeah.
Was like. It was nuts. We had people from all over the country being like, I don't know why this is showing up on my feed.
Right.
I've never heard of this ice cream shop, but it's cool that they're, the algorithm realized that we struck some type of chord.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So if you ever have to cancel a beloved thing, just give people the recipe.
That's legit, man. Good for you. That's awesome.
Fellas, it's been great. You guys are awesome.
Yeah.
I'm excited to come in, try the fish tacos, try the whole 90% new menu.
Oh, yeah.
It's been getting back into Big Woods, been on my list for a few months now. And Bryan, work your way up, man. You've done the damn thing.
Yeah, thanks, man.
Yeah. Thanks, guys, so much for being here. Appreciate you. Hard Truth, Big Woods. Go check them out. There you go. You can't laugh, Carrot. All right, here we go. There you go, little fella. Oh, what another great episode. Thanks so much to Season 7 presenting sponsor, Visit Bloomington. Check them out. Visit Bloomington.com. As always, keep those hands dry. This episode of the No Dishes podcast was recorded, edited, and produced by Garrett Portinga of Green Hat Media in beautiful downtown Bloomington, Indiana.
No Dishes Media.
No Dishes Media.